What's up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. You guys, you know I appreciate all of you, right? This is my baby. I have been taking care of this podcast for I don't know how long. Army of one, doing it solo. Really, really happy because that means no one can tell me what to do or how to do it. It's up to me, y'all. The buck stops here. But that also means that there was a time, once upon a time, where I thought that I could do this. Now, the reason, I think I've told you this way back in the beginning, right? But let me tell you again. The reason I even started a podcast is because once upon a time, Gary Vee said the future of content was going to be lean back content, which was audio. And I was thinking, you know what? I could do that. I don't like being video so much. I don't mind being audio. So maybe I could give you a bit of my mind, a bit of my heart, a bit of my spirit, but I don't have to appear on camera nowhere. So guess what? I took full advantage. But that wasn't without a lot of hemming and hawing because I wasn't sure if I could do it. So I want to talk to you about that voice inside of my head real quick. Because at some point, I was telling myself that I could not do this. This was something that I was not able to do. I was not, equipped to handle. I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have the audience. No one knows what I want to talk about. I don't know what I want to talk about. What the hell am I going to get on here and talk about? Because I was not an expert in anything until I realized, because I had to tell a couple other people this as well, that I am an expert in my own life. I am an expert in my perspective, my vision, my idea, my beliefs, my understanding of the world around me. No one can question my opinion on things because it's my opinion. It's an opinion. It's not a fact. It's just an opinion. And honestly speaking, it took me a really long time. So I want to talk about this because I came across this quote today and it reminded me of this idea all over again. So let me read you the quote. It says, "If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint. And that voice will be silenced." Now, that's a Vincent van Gogh quote, and I love it so much because, yeah, it was that moment where I realized, you know what? It's this fictional figment of fictional figment of my imagination that's kind of floating around in my head that's telling me I can't do something. And guess what? No one else can hear that voice. So if I can shut that voice up by doing the thing that it says that I cannot do, hey, what else can it possibly say? What else could I possibly prove wrong, right? It would be the beginning of this big adventure where I stopped saying no to myself because my brain was saying no to me. And I started taking the challenge and saying, oh yeah, you think I can't do this? Let me try anyway and see what happens. So it was the process of getting this podcast off the ground that kind of got me thinking, hey, if I can do this, what else can I accomplish? Eventually, obviously, I went from doing the podcast, which was hosted solely on Facebook Live audio, which I don't even know if that function exists anymore because I don't use it, mostly because the technology changed, y'all. And for a while there, because we had the Pages Manager for Facebook, it stopped allowing me to go live via audio on my business page, but it still allows me to do it on Facebook itself. So I just stopped and I started using my voice recorder on my phone, and I've been knocking out 3, 4, 5 episodes every day since then. So, like I said, I wasn't sure if I could do this. I knew that this was going to be the future. I knew that, come on, it's Gary Vee. He knows trends before they even happen. So he's able to let us know what he's feeling, and it's up to us whether we take the plunge or not. So I went ahead, and it was like zero risk because no one knew I existed. No one knew what I was talking about. And so I was given this gift of anonymity where I could start building this platform and start putting together this content based on what I thought and what I believed. And it was all about documenting my process in the beginning. It was all about, how do I manage being a stay-at-home mom? How do I manage being this person who finally exited the rat race and has no intention of going back, but knows that, push come to shove, if I really need a job, I can go out and get a job. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do and how I can do it because it's important to me, right? And so it started off as a documentation of how to become a CEO, how to become an entrepreneur, the things I tried, the things that failed, the things that, my intuition was telling me, you know what, everyone says keep doing this, but I think I need to do this instead. So I did all of that. And in the process of that, I had to manage my own mindset. I had to manage my own, insecurities about how to go about business, how to connect with people. What is the norm in Singapore and what am I trying to do? Why do I always stand out like a sore thumb? I have no idea. But the point is, I got to tell you about all those things. And in the meantime, as I had more and more contact, more and more context, more and more information that I was consuming, I get to tell you what it was that I was discovering for myself. So here I am, right, doing this podcast, knowing that it was really, really important for me to shut that voice up inside my head. And since then, I've done so many other things. Like I said, when I first started the podcast, I wasn't that keen on going live on video. And back then, because I had a Twitter account, I never used it, I was able to get into Periscope. And Periscope was just oh my gosh, it was a whole nother world out there. And it wasn't the best kinds of people on Periscope, but I did it anyway. I used to show up every day at 6 o'clock in the morning in Singapore, right, for an hour to teach a class because it was expected of me. I was assigned this task for a company that I was working with. Now, it was to drive traffic to their website, which is fine because I got to test out a lot of things. It's what I've realized about the majority of my work career. Everything I've ever done, I'm using in my business today because I've been able to test it in real life with real people, face to face, and then use the things that I realized about this particular community, this particular country in my business online. And it's been magnificent. I've since then, obviously, started doing IGTVs, which originally started off as 10-minute episodes. You couldn't do more than 10 minutes, but now if you go live, because it doesn't hang in your stories for 24 hours, you can save it to your IGTV, and that becomes an hour-long piece of content that you could break down any particular way that you would like. And of course, I've started using Libsyn, which makes my podcast available on Spotify, which I was terrified of doing back then, but I am doing with no problems right now. And because it's on Spotify, Libsyn actually pushes it out to YouTube as well. So my YouTube is growing. Well, okay, the channel content is growing. The audience, not so much, but we'll get to that later, right? I will figure that out in another podcast episode. But the truth is, because I proved myself wrong, my imagination, my alter ego, whatever you want to call it, because I was able to shut that voice up, I have been giving myself permission to shut myself up about a couple other things that I thought that I couldn't do. I wasn't sure if I could create art. And you know what? I went ahead and tried, and it's not so bad. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. I have, pushed myself to try and do fashion a little bit. I'm not the greatest at that either, but I have my own way of doing things. I have my own eye for, content and beauty and fashion and what fits and what doesn't fit and what I think is beautiful and appropriate and sexy without revealing too much. I have my own style and I'm okay with that now. There have been moments where I wasn't sure if, the way I tie my sari was okay, but you know what? I'm good with it because I'm comfortable with it and I'm not going to compare myself to anybody else. Everyone else follows the crowd here in Singapore and they have their beauty beauty gurus here in Singapore, but I'm gonna do my own thing. As far as being a mom is concerned, I wasn't sure if I could be an actress on screen or if I could, appear a specific way where it wouldn't diminish my character or have people pointing their finger at me saying, oh, how can she do that? She's a mom. But I've been able to bring the community together. I've been able to build as much as I possibly can because I do it my way and I feel good about it. So when people want to point fingers and want to ask questions and want to pick apart, the way I do things, I have an answer and I'm all right with that. So for the most part, when I see this quote that says, that voice inside of you that says you can't paint, you might as well go ahead and paint because that's the only way you're going to shut it up. I totally get that. And I know there's a fear in there. And I know that no is coming from a bunch of people in your past that have said no to other things that you've asked if you could do. And they said, no, you can't because you don't da. So guess what? The only way to prove to yourself that you can is to go out and do it. And I'm not saying go jump off a cliff. I'm not saying go skydiving, none of that stuff. It's the simple things. I remember I was talking to a client and she mentioned that she really wanted to get her weight under control, but she lives in a family that, if people are upset, they like to feed. They like to add more food to the plate. They like to, give you more to consume and comprehend. And I get that. I understand that. But it's the simple things that says, oh, no, you can't say no to these people because they'll be offended. And until you say, no, that's okay, I'm actually full, and realize that they can and will take that answer, you're going to consistently be afraid to do it out in real life. So sometimes you just got to take the plunge. Sometimes you just got to say no and see what happens. Sometimes it's enough for you to be satisfied with what you did, even though you may have upset other people or people may have taken offense or people, look at you funny now. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, what I want is for you to go to bed, feeling like you've done all you can. You've done what you said you were going to do. You accomplished, whatever you needed according to your values. You have your integrity intact still. That's what I really, really want for you. And if that means proving this little voice inside your head wrong by doing what it's telling you you can't do, please, by all means, do it. For the longest time, I wasn't sure if I could build a website until I went out and did it. I wasn't sure if I could write a blog post until I went out and did it. I wasn't sure if I could get the top 5 searches in, Google for any particular topic until I went out and did it. And even then I wasn't trying to do it, but I had this idea in my head of a grassroots marketing campaign. And guess what, damn it, it worked. But I won't know until I try. And even if at the time, my employer was like, nope, you're confusing the public. Don't do this anymore. And they told me to get rid of it. I still have that experience in my head. I still know I can do it again, but I can do it for me this time without anyone saying, no, it's not good enough. And it's confusing because I'm my own boss. The buck stops with me. And guess what? I did that on purpose because I don't want to be told by an outside force what I can and can't do anymore. I have enough of a hard time managing my own imagination and my own, alter ego inside of my head that tells me I'm not good enough to do some of the things that I have my eyes set on doing. So, for those of you out there who are, pending, procrastinating, sitting on this beautiful golden goose of an idea, I want you to stop and start doing something small towards that idea that you have. Because if you don't, it's just going to be a procrastination story. And I don't want that for you. I want you to at least try. I would rather you try and fail than not try and think you would have failed anyway, not knowing how much further you could have come to your ideal lifestyle, your ideal sense of freedom in life, right? Because that's the only reason we're chasing abundance. We want the freedom that comes with it. We want the money so that it provides the opportunities that we're looking for, not because we just want to sit on a pile of money. We want the cushiness. We want the luxury. We want to be able to not look at a price tag when we go shopping. We want to be able to, spend time with our kids if we want to without having to check in with somebody. If we don't feel good, we want to be able to take MC without having to pay a doctor to prove to the workplace that we really are sick and we really do deserve the MC. Man, I want my life my way. And as much as I can, I'm going to curate it that way. You know what I'm saying? So if you have any questions or comments about what I'm talking about when it comes to this voice, this mind voice that tells you, no, you can't do it. You know you can't do that. That's not good. You're not good enough. Who are you to do this? Who are you to have this dream? Damn it, if the thought occurs to you, obviously it's occurring to you for a reason. So why not chase it? Chase it to the end of your curiosity. And at least then you know you tried. And you're going to pick up some skills along the way anyway, guaranteed. You can't go through life without picking up extra skills or extra knowledge. It's what experience is for. So why not take the chance? I did. It's panning out for me. Not everything I did was a winner, but I learned every step of the way. And you know what? I feel better and better about my business as a result. I want the same feeling for you. I love you guys. I'll catch you again soon. Bye.